Auburn makes a top 10 list, but I don't think it's the most desirable top 10 list.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie 5.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie 5, and we are ready to get after it. Happy Friday. We are one sleep away. Happy Halloween, too, by the way, for those who celebrate. We did trick-or-treating last night, so I missed a little bit of the basketball game, but we're going to talk about the basketball game. We're also going to talk about this list Auburn made that's not necessarily the list you want to find yourself on. And Auburn found itself not only on it 3 times, but number 1, 2, and 3. And then there's no real official word about the starting quarterback tomorrow. And I got to tell you, I'm just going to save it. We'll talk about it here in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to Rhoback.com. Use coupon code BARN20 to take 20% off your order. Polos, pullovers, hoodies, Auburn licensed apparel, and then every other piece of apparel that you like. They got hats, they got visors, they got everything, man. Shorts, pants, joggers, great stuff, and you can save big by using that coupon code BARN20 that knocks 20% off your order. So show them some love, get your Auburn stuff in, and check them out. It's Rhoback.com. Like I said, Auburn makes a top 10 list, and when you typically hear that, you get fired up, but this is one that I don't think you want to find yourself on, as this is one about poor officiating. On3 does their top 10 worst calls, top 10 worst officiating calls, and Auburn makes the top 10 3 times. And not only 3 times, number 1, 2, and 3. So this isn't anything like super official, but from On3's perspective, the 3 worst calls of the year all went against Auburn. Again, I don't want to dwell. I'm not dwelling on officiating. This is more so funny than anything. It's funny to kind of, there is a little bit of validation. There is a little bit of, okay, maybe the feeling of angst towards officiating is justified. This is what's crazy. So the probability of all, this is not just SEC teams. This is not just like certain conferences. This is the whole country. Okay. The probability, this is from Grok, by the way. The probability of one team of all college football having the 3 worst officiated calls, okay, is 0.0054%. A 0.0054% chance that your college football team would have the 3 worst calls of like the whole season. That's the probability. It's crazy. So let's go through them and let me see what you think about which one should go where. We'll talk about that at the end because I would change the ranking just a little bit. Okay. So number 1, the number, actually I'm going to do the 3. I'm going to start with 3 and get to 1. So number 3 was the reverse timeout from Kirby. If you don't remember, this is in the Georgia game. 2 of these, by the way, were from the Georgia game. And this was the game that got that crew, or not the crew, but I guess just Ken Williamson fired basically from calling games in the SEC. This penalty or non-penalty or timeout or non-timeout didn't actually end up super affecting the game, but it could have been. I mean, it could have been. It was pretty crazy. So it was late in a play clock. Georgia had the lead only by 3. This ended up in a missed field goal, if I'm not mistaken. I think I remember that correctly. Kirby runs in late in the play clock to call a timeout, and he's clearly doing his hands in a timeout signal. The officials stop the clock, and then Kirby runs onto the field and says, "No, I wasn't calling a timeout. I was clapping." Or I was trying to tell you about the Auburn guys clapping. That's what I was doing. I wasn't calling a timeout. So the officials get together and they say essentially there's no timeout, restart the clock, and we're going to redo the play. So they just get a free redo, and everybody goes berserk. Kirby saves his timeout, and I can remember on the live stream thinking, I mean, my gracious, there's a can of worms have just been opened, because now you can call a timeout and then just go run up there and say, oh, wait, just kidding, I didn't call a timeout. And if they believe you, you get a free timeout. Saves you from getting a delay of game, saves you from all kind of things. And then Kirby continued he never fessed up. I guess that's what you're supposed to do. If you're going to lie, just buy into the lie. But it's just as clear as day. You can hear Sean McDonough, who's one of the best as far as play-by-play guys. He was doing everything he could to stay professional. Greg McElroy he was the color commentator. He was the same way. And I believe even Matt Austin or whoever it was, it's the head official or for ESPN, was saying similar things. So that one was really bad. Luckily, that did not necessarily change anything about the game, but it was still really, really bad. Number 2, this one was awful. This is the Oklahoma hideout tactic touchdown. If you can't remember, Oklahoma finishes a play or something like that, and Isaac Satania comes off the field, and give him an Oscar. Give him an Oscar, give him an award, because he did exactly what I would look like. I mean, what I would think is portraying coming off the field. He had unsnapped his gloves. So, like, in other words, the Velcro was off. So it looks like, hey, I'm coming off the field. Head hanging low. I can't remember if he was like saying something as well, like almost like he's mad that he's coming off the field. And in the meantime, you have another wide receiver, the slot wide receiver, who's talking trash to the DBs to make sure that they're not watching him, because he's not walking off the field. He's just going to the very, very edge of the field in play, and he lines up. So he fakes like he's coming off the field, lines up, and he ends up being uncovered for a touchdown. And apparently that should be a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, because you're using a quote unquote, you're abusing the substitution rules to deceive, I think is how that play is described. The SEC releases a statement. You don't do anything in the game. It's just a touchdown. It's a touchdown. That was 7 points. It's very rare when you can have a missed call, in my opinion, that I say very rare. It's not often that you have a call that is missed that directly, like on that very play, leads to a touchdown. A lot of these, I mean, I would say a vast majority of your penalties are, a holding or an offsides or a face mask or this or that. Rarely do you have a lot of stuff happen that puts points on the board like that. Sometimes I guess you can have touchdown runs that are called back with holding, but still, it's pretty rare that something like this is missed and it leads to 7 points when what it should have been was not only taking 7 points off the board, but pushing them 15 yards back, which could have even led to maybe a missed field goal or, who knows, a turnover. It was just really, really bad. And again, the SEC had to issue a statement that said, hey, we got that one wrong. So that one obviously was very, very painful. And then number 1, which I'm kind of shocked this is number 1 because it still feels like it still felt like a judgment call. But number 1 was the fumble on the goal line against Georgia. We're going in to score, would have been 17-0. You get in the tush push formation, and as Jackson's reaching across the goal line or getting across the goal line, he didn't really reach. The ball's punched out, and then Georgia recovers, and then everybody knows the story after that. And Matt Austin, again, the former SEC official, said that it felt like from the synced up view of, I guess, you took 2 camera views and synced them, and from the looks of it, it looks like the ball, the tip of the ball crosses the goal line, which right there the play's over and it's a touchdown. But they obviously call it they don't call it a fumble. They called it a fumble on the field, so they just upheld the call. And this was really bad because they didn't even really blow the whistle or anything. It's like they didn't know what to do because the Georgia guy picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown. So I guess in theory, yes, there would have been a penalty on Kirby Smart for touching the player and telling him to run. But in theory, if they didn't blow the whistle and it's a fumble, it should have been, a pretty big gain the other way at worst, and then a touchdown at best, I guess, for Georgia. To me, that's not even the worst part of it. The worst part of it is the down the line shot where Georgia's has multiple players lined up off sides. So that was a disaster all the way around. Which one do you guys think should be number one? I personally, sometimes I don't mind so much missing calls as I do like deception. I don't mind missing calls so much as I do just ball face lying. So I think I really would have number one as the hideout play, because everybody knows the rules and you completely just decided. Not only did you know the rules, but they showed you film of these plays before the season and talked about it. So I think I would have the hideout tactic number one. And I think I would have Kirby's timeout number two, because that is just, bro, you just lied. You just ball face lied. Everybody in the whole world knows it. Kudos to you for just sticking with it. Say, hey, it wasn't me. It's like that song. And hey, it wasn't me. And then I'd have the touchdown, even though the touchdown was probably the most impactful, the fumble touchdown on the goal line. I have it 3 because I still think most of that's a judgment call. So I don't hate that as much as I do the other 2. So let me know what you think. Which one should be 1, 2, and 3? That's not really the list you want to find yourself on. That was a pretty long first segment. Got a couple other things to talk about. Definitely want to talk about the basketball win. We'll be back right after this. No official word on quarterbacks yet as far as who starts tomorrow, which I'm fine with that part of it. I'm totally fine. And he said they probably would say something today. They'd sit down and they'd figure it out today. Now, whether or not they tell anybody about it is another question. But he said that part of it doesn't really bug me that much, because again, you don't gain anything by letting everybody know who the starting quarterback is, even though both of these guys are pretty similar. But the part that bugs me, if this is true, and again, this could be just part of this whole act, is the 50-50 splitting of reps. And if that's the case, I just think I think if that's true, that's just a really, not only is it a bad idea, it's also, it doesn't do you any good. This is a game that I don't care about saying it. You're coaching for your career at Auburn here. Kentucky can beat you. I know the line is 10.5 or whatever it is, but Kentucky 100% can beat you. Okay. They've played a lot of good teams close. And Auburn's not a really good team right now. Great defense, really bad offense. Still, you can call the Arkansas win whatever you want to call it. But still, you have trouble overcoming adversity. You have trouble closing out games. To not pick somebody one way or the other and game plan this thing like with one person, to me, is crazy. Let me just call it what it is. It's crazy. Like you got to have this one. You got to have this win. If you're going to go with Ashton Daniels, he hasn't had the majority reps all season. So you're going to go 50-50 again. And then if you roll Ashton out there and you've only given him 50% of the reps, that's crazy. if you roll Jackson out there, you with only 50% of the reps, it's crazy. I don't believe. I guess I'm saying I don't really believe that it can. I don't really believe that that's a coherent thought. So I'm going to pretend in my mind that that's not true and that's all part of the act. Okay. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that surely you're smarter than this. That's what I'm going with. So I'm still thinking that Ashton is going to be the guy. What I saw on Tuesday, again, it was only a very short period. Okay, it's only 6 plays, but it was one of the very few times where we get to see 11 on 11, ones on ones. Ashton was with the ones. So hopefully, when they go to like their first team offense, okay, and they're running against the scout team and they're installing and they're executing their quote unquote game plan versus the scout team offense. Hopefully, they didn't truly split the reps 50-50. Hopefully, it was more Ashton than Jackson. Or if you're going with Jackson, hopefully it was more Jackson than Ashton. Having a quarterback competition week 9, week 10, if you want to count the bye week, whatever, makes little to no sense. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm still saying Ashton's the guy. We'll see. Again, I'm gonna assume that this whole thing has just been an act, a very elaborate ruse to just keep Kentucky guessing or whatever, which is fine. That's kind of part of being coach. That's kind of a part of coaching. All right, let's talk about the basketball win. Auburn dominates Memphis 100-71. Make sure you listen to the Barn Hoops pod that drops today, recapping the whole game. Though obviously Jacob will go much more in detail than I will today. And I think my theme for today in the game that I found very, very encouraging was the bounce back and shooting. Okay. Obviously, they played great defense. The bounce back and shooting, you go out, we watched the Oklahoma State game, and Auburn felt like there was a lid on the basket. You couldn't score. And that was going to be the theme of this team. This team was going to have to outscore you. So when you play a game like that and you have trouble getting the ball on the hoop, especially from deep, that gets a little bit concerning. Okay. Obviously, it was an exhibition game, but that's all the information you have to go off of. Auburn came out hot from the beginning, never let up, and just made so many big shots. You shoot 42% from 3, which is phenomenal. If you shoot 42% from 3, you're going to win most games, bottom line. Even though Auburn's a smaller team, if you shoot that well, they play good defense. That's been Stevens' calling card. He's been the defensive guy. If you shoot 42% from 3, you're going to be hard to beat. Over 70% from the free throw line. Philip Jovic is incredible. He's just automatic from the free throw line. He was 7 of 8. Good to see him get some quality. Good to see him kind of getting back. I think you're going to really need him. Good to see him getting some good production. Keyshawn Hall's a monster. Played 24 minutes, scored 20 points. He's almost scoring a point a minute. Remember the first exhibition game, he played 26 minutes and scored 26 points. So he shot 41% from the field. You shot 42% from the field, from the 3-point line, 71% from the line, and 52% overall from the field. Spectacular. Remember, Keyshawn Murphy dinged up his knee. I say dinged up his knee. He slipped, tweaked his bad knee. I believe he's in a brace, and he only played 14 minutes. So they really made sure he was limited, but he did not miss a shot. He did not miss a shot, and he fouled out pretty quick. And I think the reason is obviously you're just trying to take it slow. You're not trying to overextend. So I'm sure he was reachy a little bit. I wouldn't take anything away from that. That's just part of it. You had let's see, 8 players essentially played 20 minutes. Now, look, I'm rounding a little bit. I mean, Abdul Bashir played 18 minutes. I'm just basically saying that's 20 minutes. Jovic played 19, and Elijah Freeman played 17. And then Keyshawn Hall played 24. But basically there was 8 guys right there around the 20-minute mark, really, truly subbing this thing out and playing it like an exhibition. And, I mean, Todd Pettiford didn't even start. He came off the bench, and he played 20 minutes or so. So really, I think the biggest point takeaway from there is that you're rotating a bunch of guys and you still score 100 points on a really good team. I mean, Memphis is, always a pretty solid basketball team. I think they did lose to Arkansas, but they either had the lead or they were close to the lead at halftime. I can't remember exactly how that game played out. They did lose to Arkansas in their first exhibition game, but again, I think they played them a lot closer. Caden Magwood, look, earlier in summer, Caden was struggling with the point guard aspect of being a college basketball player. Shooting, he's going to be electric, okay? He was 2 of 2 from 3 last night, 4 of 5 overall. He can score the basketball, okay? It was having the ball handling skills and whatnot to bring the ball up the court, and get the offense running and get the offense going and kind of get into a rhythm. He did have 5 turnovers last night, but they also jumped out to a huge run with him starting. They jumped out to a huge run to start the game, and that's really good to see because he's really your only true backup point guard. So if Tahad gets hurt or Tahad needs to take a breather, you need to be able to go to somebody. And his progression, I would say from the time they've gotten onto campus to today, Magwood seems to have made the biggest jump. There could be an argument for Elijah Freeman as well, who's probably going to be in your starting lineup. But Cade Magwood, he went from really struggling to now he's actually, I think, can be a really good backup point guard and then eventually become a great point guard in this league. So good stuff. 100-71. Anytime you score 100 points, it's awesome. I think we had a really good crowd, and they streamed it on War Eagle Plus, which was kind of cool. We couldn't figure out the logistics of getting the live stream between trick-or-treating, the War Eagle Plus, and whatnot, but we're going to live stream every regular season game, okay, starting with Bethune-Cookman on Monday. So get ready for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. You'll make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you'll see those alerts, and you can jump in the conversation. It's going to be a blast. So, guys, you got Kentucky tomorrow. Who's going to be there? I'm going to be there. So if you see me, say hello, and it should be a ton of fun. So hopefully Auburn can get this one running, get this going and win this one, and then that's 2 in a row. And then if we win in Vandy, that's a winning streak. If you haven't noticed, Major League 2 is probably my favorite movie. Usually the sequels are not as good as the original. That sequel is phenomenal. That was a great sequel. Guys, I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow for the live stream. So make sure you're here for the live stream. I'm not going to be on it, but we're still going to have Zach's going to be on it. Hunter's going to be on it. A lot of the same guys that you've been seeing these past several weeks. I'm actually going to go to the game. I'm going to go and enjoy a home game. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.